Okay, we're good to go, Gretchen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Matt Curtis. I'm zoning hearing board president. I'm here with Tim Finnerty, zoning hearing board, and Gretchen Moore, our solicitors. Gretchen.
Okay, thank you and good evening again, everybody. We are going to start with our continued hearing. This is in the matter of Rhode Island Maple Devco LLC special exception and variance hearing. I'd like to just do a little housekeeping at the beginning, having read the transcript. It's very important that everybody you speak one at a time. Wait for a question to be finished before you start your answer. And likewise, the person questioning will wait for you to answer before he or she starts the next question. It's best to have a clean record. Our court reporter will thank you. I will thank you, and everybody will thank you. So we'll do, please just focus on doing that, as well as the manager said, please speak up. The owl here is catching your voice, so please speak up so that folks can hear you. Do we have people online today?
Currently, there are 13 people who are online.
Okay, and we have folks online, so they'll be able to hear you as well. So I thank you for that. What we're going to do tonight is start with a couple motions. We have a motion for reconsideration on some of the standing decisions that this board made at the first hearing. That's going to be presented by Mr. Gallagher. After that, we may have some questions for some folks. And then I also understand there are two other people or entities who are seeking standing. One is Ms. Bodner and one is the Churchill Tree Committee. I think Ms. Bodner is seeking reconsideration and the Churchill Tree Committee is requesting standing. So we'll do these one at a time, and we'll start with the motion for reconsideration that Mr. Gallagher circulated today.
Thank you. I have provided a motion, which I may hand out if you want to identify it for purposes of the record. And you like that exhibit on Does anybody else?
Your Honor, if I might,
Yes,
is this the first time we're getting this motion?
I received it today. Sean, did you circulate it before tonight or you circulated?
I circulated it this weekend. I don't have everybody's email address, so this is the first time.
Okay,
With all respect, Your Honor, just as a procedural matter, I object to this.
Are you a part?
I am a party at this point.
I'm sorry.
Your Honor.
Are my reference going?
yeah, one at a time. So let's just start with, I received exhibit 12 from the applicant.
Yes.
Okay, exhibit 12 is a motion for reconsideration of standing of objectors. Ms. Calabrese, do you have an objection?
I do, Your Honor. We did not have sufficient notice for this. I literally just was handed this 3 seconds ago. I think counsel stated he just circulated it sometime today. I think that this is undue and unfair surprise. We will not be having the opportunity to prepare a response to this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gallagher, if you could go ahead and orally present your motion.
Thank you.
Everybody else, if you're a party and you haven't received a copy yet, make sure you get a copy so you can look at it as he's presenting his motion, and then we'll determine next steps.
Okay, I mean, it's not that it's new evidence, it is, we had arguments last time at the outset of the last hearing, addressing certain persons standing, which under, Pennsylvania law, you have to be a person agreed. And since last hearing, we had the opportunity to calculate the distance that each person, the proximity to which they live to the site. We addressed the law as applied to those objectors. There's a case called Armistead, which specifically dealt with a billboard. And in that case, just not having living in close proximity, I mean, you have to show that there is an actual harm that you're suffering that's above and beyond the interest of all other citizens. And here, clearly, any perceived harm is the same harm that would apply uniformly to every resident of the borough and adjacent municipalities. So for that, and attached as exhibits to the motion, we also prepared renderings from the various locations that show from each of those houses, and each of the objectors listed in the motion, that the billboard would not be visible, period. So they don't have any standing. Secondly, there was also a motion made to, or the board determined that Wilkins Township was a party, and also took Penn Hills standing under advisement. And you asked us to provide additional support for that, which we did, and was in response to Mayor Calabrese's representation that the Home Rule Charter gave her the authority to find Penn Hills as a party. As addressed in our memorandum, there is no provision in the Home Rule Charter or the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code that gives any municipality the right or superpower over and above any ordinary citizen to have standing. So because they would not qualify as a person aggrieved, and because being a local government doesn't give you any special rights, we ask that you reconsider their party standing and deny it.
Okay, thank you. A couple questions. I think the issue of Penn Hills was, this board had a different issue, and we did ask you to address this, Mayor Calabrese. We asked you for the authority that you had to be here and stand here on behalf of Penn Hills. So I think what Mr. Gallagher attached in part demonstrates that unless you're actually granted authority by the council, it is not one of the powers and duties listed in the Home Rule Charter. Do you have anything in response to that to demonstrate the authority that you were given to be here on behalf of Penn Hills?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. Article 3 of our Home Rule Charter states, Article 3, Section 12 states, the mayor shall be recognized as the head of the municipal government, and it goes on to other duties like presiding over the meeting, and shall have a voice and vote in all matters before council. In addition, the mayor shall have the following powers and duties: represent the municipality and deliberations with other governmental bodies, shall have the authority to negotiate intergovernment cooperative agreements. I don't think that Section B applies, but certainly Article 3, Section 12, among the enumerated powers, and 12A. However, Your Honor, I would renew my objection that this motion should either be denied or this matter should be continued to give us an opportunity to respond to this motion. It very well may be that council has had the opportunity to measure over the weekend or so forth, but this is a significant issue. It goes to the very crux of this matter, and we have not had the opportunity to properly respond to this motion, which we were only given this evening. So I would ask Your Honor to either deny this motion outright or continue this matter so that we can properly respond to this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Calabrese. So I'm understanding you believe the source of your ability to be here derives from Section 12A of the Home Rule Charter.
Yes,
Is
Your
that
Honor.
correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Article 3, Section 12,
Okay.
but not just specifically A. Article 3, Section 12. Thank you.
Can you point to any other section within there that would give you the power to be here on behalf of the entity? I guess that's what we're looking for.
I think that's sufficient. Had I known, my understanding was I only needed to point to the section in our Home Rule Charter. I did not realize that we were going to be presented with a written motion, and accordingly, that's why I asked that we be given the opportunity to respond or that the motion be denied outright. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I may just quickly respond.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. If you recall the last meeting, we also asked you to bring here the source of the authority for which you could stand here today on behalf of Penn Hill. So, and So that it's clear, I think you're pointing to the same thing that Mr. Gallagher is pointing to, so it's a matter of interpretation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say that what we submitted is in response to the direction we had from the last hearing. So for that purpose, we believe it's timely. We should proceed with the hearing.
Yeah, understood. I think you both pointed to the same source. We will interpret it and make a decision.
Just for the record, Your Honor, I think that's an unfair characterization to say that a motion for reconsideration is a response. When you label something a motion for reconsideration, that's exactly what's being asked. It's not a motion for clarification. It's not an argument. It is a motion for reconsideration, and we should be given the full and fair opportunity to be heard and to properly respond. This is undue and unfair surprise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As it relates to the images in Exhibit 13, can you please explain what we are seeing here? And I'm only
Yes.
really interested in them as it relates to 535 Newport Road and 648 Granick Lane, which I believe is Ms. Turnock and Mr. Swatchek.
Yeah, would it be helpful to have witness testimony on this or who prepared it, or do you just want me to explain?
I would like to know who prepared it, yes, and understand what we're looking at. And is Mr. Swatchek and Ms. Turnock here this evening? Okay, and have you received a copy of this?
Just this evening, yes.
Okay. And Ms. Turnock?
She's not here.
She is not here this evening, okay.
Swear.
I swore in the last.
Yep, you swear again.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I did.
Your Honor, if I may, before you begin, Ms. Turnock had asked for a motion for continuance. Two of the parties who have been granted standing had surgery. They had sought a motion for continuance. It was denied. And so I would like to note on the record that she had sought a motion for continuance. Thank you.
Thank you.
We could check that request for continuance. Sorry, I get that.
I already have it.
This isn't, that's something just a little bit dated as of today.
Thank you.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Andrew Schwartz with Environmental Planning and Design.
Okay. And Mr. Schwartz, you testified earlier with respect to this proceeding.
Yes.
Can you explain what Exhibit 13 is?
Exhibit 13 is a location map of persons with standing that came out of the last hearing, showing their location of the address that they provided. We just placed them on a Google map.
Okay, and you prepared the table that is on Exhibit 13?
Correct. At the top, we're kind of on the right side, maybe a third of the way down, you see a little table there. It is based on address. There's nobody's name specific attached to the address. That's in the first column, and the second column that gives the distance. The distances are from the proposed billboard location, which is a large star, as you guys all know, down towards the interchange itself.
And did you review the exhibits that are attached to what has been identified as Exhibit 12?
Yes.
And can you explain for the board what those are?
So the graphics, what we did is we took, basically built a three-dimensional model of the actual billboard. We then placed that into Google Earth. Probably most people know Google Earth has three-dimensional information to it. So you get landform and vegetation and buildings and all that stuff. So what we're able to do is then take that three-dimensional model at the geographic location where the billboard is to be located or where it's proposed to be located, place that on the ground surface that it's in a Google map or Earth terrain model and generated the views. Those views, all the vegetation is flattened. In some cases, there's a second view, which shows then with the vegetation, just as when you're in street view and you're driving around and you see the three-dimensional quality of the view, that's what it shows. So in the buildings, we would project in the case of the office building or the Comfort Inn, we would elevate those buildings those were not in the Google Earth file. So again, went out and measured in terms of awful photographs, what the height of those buildings are, and then a three-dimensional model increased or raised them up to the elevation. So what you're able to see is from a particular location address, looking across, in some cases, you may be a quarter mile away, you would be able to see we took all the views from the second floor in terms of residences, so that elevation, and looked towards the billboard. And in most cases, or all cases, the billboard is not visible. There's either hills in the way, there's other buildings in the way. The Comfort Inn actually screens everything, just because it's a very large building and it's right on the edge above where the billboard site is itself.
So would it be an accurate description that due to the trees, the location, the elevation of the surrounding landscape, that it was not visible to see the billboard from any of the proposed locations that are identified on Exhibit A?
Yeah, Exhibit 12.
Exhibit 12.
Yes.
So can I ask you the buildings or whatever we are seeing on some of the exhibit 13? So
That's the
for
top of the
example,
Comfort Inn.
that's the Comfort Inn, that is not the billboard.
That is not the billboard.
Okay, and for the 535 Newport Drive, these are buildings that we're
Correct.
looking at.
Correct. And in most cases, like the Comfort Inn is 3 stories. So that building was modeled to be, I think it's 42 feet in terms of elevation.
Did you do a sight line not including the trees from 535?
That's what the first set of images would be showing, where we're flattening out, no vegetation. Then we would show where it would remain the vegetation. So every one of them, no vegetation for sure. And then if there was, in terms of any inkling of visibility, then we looked at what the vegetation.
The comment from that particular person was that they may be able to see the sign for a significant amount of light from the sign from their residence in the winter when there weren't leaves on the trees. That's why I asked that question.
Okay, so the other dimension of the whole discussion is, if you guys remember on the plans, it is a V-shaped structure. There is actually no sign face that is facing north. So all those locations that are on the map, save the one that's this side, none of them would ever see any light, direct light from the billboard, because there's no billboard face that direction. That would be facing towards the Comfort Inn. Look at the plans, it's that V shape facing north. The point of the V is facing the parkway. So the visibility is coming
Right.
east and west. Just look at the map, all the residences are to the north, there's, and on the house to describe it, I don't think there's any way that there would be light coming directly at any of those addresses.
Thank you.
Hey, Jay, can you please, when you're talking, try not to
Sorry.
go back to the out.
Sorry, yeah, trying to answer their question.
Yes.
Thank you. So again, the only two I'm interested in terms of reconsideration would be Ms. Turnock and Mr. Swatchek. I understand Ms. Turnock is not here this evening. Mr. Swatchek, do you have any questions?
Yes. That's right. I'm looking at exhibit 13, and I see a profile of something in the top.
Top of the building,
Yeah, is that the top of what building?
Comfort Inn. Oh, actually, that one's your the corner of the office building.
Okay, there's 2 office buildings.
What are we
up
looking
there.
at now?
The Diapollonian building or the Vocalec 4-story building?
Mr. Swatchek, can you please, for the record, state which exhibit you're looking at, which one?
Exhibit 13, that's reference to my address.
648.
Yes, sir.
648.
Oh, I'm
Grant
sorry.
Lane.
Yeah, 648.
Thank you.
It's the building that's further up the hill. So it's the one that is immediately behind the, I'm not gonna say it right, Diapolano building is as you're coming up, the
Okay,
road.
sitting up highest.
It's sitting up highest.
Okay, for the record, okay, for the record, I can't see that building from my kitchen window or upstairs.
Again, because that particular image you have is mowed without vegetation. It
Okay,
is purely the ground line that is producing kind of that profile. Once I go add vegetation, I agree with you, you can't see that.
okay, so if someone were to take away the vegetation in the woods along the line of sight from where I live upstairs, looking out a window, this is what I could expect to see
You see the.
so far.
Just the corner of the building.
Yeah, because the rest of the woods is not developed yet, coming to me, all 23
Correct.
acres that DeAndre
Correct.
owns. Okay, this is very useful. sir.
And the
Thank you.
billboard is 40 feet below where that parking pad would be for that office building.
Yeah, okay, for the record, I'm not objecting to the billboard because I can see it. There's no way I'm gonna be able to see that. The billboard,
Do you have another basis for why you are aggrieved then?
yes.
What is that?
The basis I kind of introduced with a restricted intent at the first meeting. And it dealt with the handout that I gave you, and you said I had to give a copy to him, which I did. And in it was an historical record of a boundary dispute between Penn Hills and Wilkins. And I felt in order for me as a good citizen to do my due diligence, since I was aware of that information that happened disputing a line set in 1850 when Penn Hills was born from Wilkins, after which Churchill was born in 1934. The boundary line going through the parcel that will contain the billboard. The line going through the parcel that will contain the billboard was in fact altered by the resolution of the Penn Hills Wilkins boundary that began with the petition of 60 resident freeholders cited at GD 95-7661. So I began this historical record to show you the initial petition, the progression through the courts, our planning commissions, zoning, and it ended up altering the boundary. So I wanted to flag you to that effect because the line that goes through that parcel in fact changed as a result of that court ruling.
Okay, thank you. I think we understand that, and we understand now that that is the basis
Yes,
Or-
that's one of the basics.
for your standing.
There's only one other basis.
What is that?
The other basis is, and I didn't have what I have now, but in the first meeting, I had a FOIA request since then from the Wilkins School District. Because in the first meeting, we discussed a newspaper article in which the reporter said that Woodland Hills was attempting to get a charter school put in the Vokalek building. And there was some mention that you can't have a billboard within such a distance of a school. Now, I appreciate the other side indicating there is no school there in the Vokalek building. But the status of that I brought up at the first meeting was that the Woodland Hills School Board did indeed approve the location of an existing charter school that is currently off Universal Road in Penn Hills to have a second location in that building. And then errantly, the newspaper article said, and I basically quoted that the State Board of Education or the School Board of Pennsylvania had yet to approve it to make it final. I checked with the state, they said that doesn't happen. There's no record of trying to have a charter school born, it already is, it's another location, so it doesn't require their review. All it requires is a signed lease between DeAndrea and the charter school president. That I think they're working on to see the zoning changes that would have to occur to comply with a school versus the existing office building compliance. And what I have here, if I'm able to show you, I don't know, is the result of the what I received from the FOIA request. And the letter that identifies I seeked it out and they provided it to me And it shows their voting record on it. There were 2 people that voted against it, the other people voted for it. So in my understanding, and again, I'm here to just present information to you that I'm privy of, that I feel if I don't, I'm not, it would be improper not to do so.
Okay, thank you for explaining what you believe is the basis for your standing. We'll take that under advisement.
Yeah, because it was
Thank you.
controversial last time. Maybe this would shed light on what the facts really are, because I know you're trying to do a findings of fact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to Ms. Bodnar. I think Ms. Bodnar requested to speak tonight to seek reconsideration of her standing.
In a moment, I'm going to promote her from panelist. This is a webinar. So she'll need to accept the panelist. And Kathy, when you can, turn on your camera and you may address the ZHB.
Alex, we don't see anything over here.
Yeah, I need to unpin this. Sorry about that. There she is.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Good evening. And just for the record, my last name is Bordner, B as in boy, O-R, D as in David, N-E-R.
Thank you, Ms. Bodnar.
Thank you.
Would you like to present why you believe you have standing?
Yes, I believe that, first of all, I agree with the mayor that Mr. Gallagher presenting this motion tonight is not fair to those of us who tried to prepare for tonight's hearing. And I hope that you will allow us to answer more thoroughly at a future meeting. But since I'm just to address my issue regarding why I believe I should be granted standing, I would like to point to the fact that both Mr. Gallagher and Mr. Schwartz have brought up the issue of the Amazon hearings, public hearings. And therefore, I think the door's been opened to point out that during those hearings, people who requested standing were not denied based on an arbitrary distance from the site or whether or not they were going to see the site. There were no questions about that when people asked for standing. And there were actually people who requested standing during that hearing who lived over a half mile from the site. And nobody knows that they were going to see it because nobody asked them. And so there is a precedent in Churchill for public hearings for people asking for standing to be granted and not to be held to an arbitrary distance. I also am very concerned that no resident of Churchill has been granted standing. And based on Mr. Gallagher's motion tonight, it appears that he's hoping that you'll just have, him and the applicant, and that's it. And I'm not an attorney, I'm not an engineer, I'm just a retired state employee from the state of Missouri. But I do have some experience in reading ordinances and federal regulations and state statutes. And I believe that the purpose of a public hearing is to hear the public. And by denying standing to people who obviously have a stake in the issue, which would be residents of Churchill, you're not getting those voices on the record and the concerns of the people of Churchill. So I respectfully ask you to reconsider my request. And I am pretty sure that I am going to be seeing the reflection of the light in the night sky, like Ms. Turnock. And maybe Mr. Gallagher doesn't think that light reflection is grieves people, but I'm here to tell him it does. Light pollution is a problem, and there's many movements that are promoting saving the night, the dark sky. If you've ever been in a place in a desert where there's no light reflection and you looked up and you saw what the sky looks like without light pollution, it's amazing. And for those of us who don't have that experience because of all of the light that's reflecting off the sky around us, you know, we are aggrieved. And I respectfully ask you to allow me to have standing. I think you need to hear a voice of a Churchill resident in this hearing. This is a very important, another point I want to bring out is that my background is in historic preservation. And I think that the history and the heritage of a place is immensely important. And in Churchill, the reason there are no billboards along the parkway is because historically people valued having the parkway be a green area, having it be an actual parkway. And I would like to advocate for saving that. I would like to be the voice in this public hearing that speaks up to help preserve that, the work that those previous councils and residents have done to preserve that along the parkway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wardner. Again, for the record, what is your physical address?
My address is 1926 Hampstead Drive in Churchill.
And just for the record, so that everybody understands, every person here and every person on Zoom has an opportunity to participate in this hearing. But what we're talking about right now is legal standing. It's a different concept than participation. You all have an opportunity to participate, and you all have the opportunity to say something during public comment at the end. Those who this board determines have legal standing have an opportunity to participate in the back and forth in the hearing part of it, in addition to the public comment at the end. So everybody here has a chance to say something. I don't want you to think that you do not have that ability. But you know, we need to determine and make the decisions on who we believe has standing to participate in terms of the legal concept of standing. So, thank you. Do you have any questions for
Yeah,
Ms.
no, I just wanted to respond to a couple of things that Ms. Porter mentioned. You know, with respect to the Amazon proceedings, I was counsel for the developer of Hillwood, so that process was for a different board and different context. And that was, I think, 16 hearings out, so I don't know. Right
60 hours, who was counting?
And at the outset of that, we went through a standing exercise as well. And we, as Hillwood, the developer, did not make a number of objections to Ms. Bordner and others because of the magnitude of the size of the development, which is, you know, the whole Westinghouse site. I think that underscores the reason why Ms. Bordner does not have standing here and others. Comparison wise, you have a big development that's going to impact a lot of people as compared to a sign that nobody's going to see. So that is our point of why Ms. Porter and others should not have standing here.
Okay, thank you. The Churchill Tree Committee or Commission, is someone here to speak on behalf of the Churchill Tree? Is it committee?
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is,
Is it tree or
Is it tree?
committee?
Is it committee?
Is it committee?
I chair the Churchill Borough Tree Committee.
Okay, thank you. And what is your?
The official name is Borough of Churchill Tree Committee, as in the Borough Code. That's the official name.
Thank you. And what is your name?
My name is Ken Balkey. That's B-A-L-K-E-Y. I'm a resident at 2007 Hampstead Drive. And I've been the chair of the committee since it started 5 years ago. And the request that I'm making, I was here for the August 28th hearing. And the only reason I didn't stand up at that time and ask to have objector standing was prior to the meeting, there was no information that trees were going to be removed to put this billboard on. But once you went through approving people to have legal standing, then the information came out that yes, there are going to be trees removed from this site. And as a result of that removal, it now brings in, we have a tree ordinance. It's chapter 286 of the Borough Code. And even per my look of all the information that's been prepared, I think for today's meeting, there's no mention of it. And I actually have gone and visited the site, and I think there are some issues that need to be addressed to our tree ordinance that I would like to be able to ask of the applicant to make sure everything's addressed properly.
Okay, is that your basis for standing?
Yeah, I'm here, and I have fellow tree committee members are here in the meeting room with me and on Zoom as well too. So I'm not here just by myself, and I'm representing that committee. I'm not like, well, Mr. Gordner wants to speak as a resident and cover the resident concerns. My concerns will be addressed. The concerns I will voice will be all dealing just with the tree removal that's being planned.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gallagher, do you have any questions?
Yeah, well, I have more, it's more a legal argument. I don't have any objection to Mr. Balky in his capacity as a resident providing comment during the public comment period. However, as it concerns the tree committee standing to enter as a party, you have the state tree code that provides that Borough Council has exclusive authority over shade trees unless it's delegated, any authority is delegated to the Borough Tree Committee. And as outlined in chapter 286 of the Borough Code, the Churchill Borough Code, there's no authority that would give the tree commission.
Let me clarify
standing
that.
here.
Let me respond to that. We do have all 5 members that make up our tree committee are approved by the Borough Council. And so it's an appointed position, and we are the eyes and ears of our Borough Council to help improve and maintain the tree canopy of our borough. And we have a responsibility to bring information and changes with them. So we're not just a volunteer group off to the side. It's a group that we have term limits on our various appointments on the committee.
And again, just to respond briefly to that, shade trees in public right of ways, none of those are implicated here. These are not shade trees in a public area. These are private land.
Well, that's actually a question I have. I visited the site and I would challenge that. I want to clarify how you're able to remove some trees and you're going to leave other trees that would block this billboard. So that's part of the challenge.
Okay, thank you for your.
There's other
comments.
issues with this too.
Well, thank you for your comments, Mr. Balky. I'll just say for the record, it's not my understanding that the zoning board has any enforcement authority as it relates to any tree ordinances. That's never been my understanding, as I know it. So I don't think this is the right board. If you have any issues or complaints related to compliance with an ordinance outside of the zoning ordinance. So I'll just say that for the record. Yes,
The solicitor for Wilkins Township is attendee, and I can promote, they have their hand raised, and I think they would like to comment about the objections. Would it be all right to promote them as a panelist and have them address?
is this Mr. Stranahan?
This is the Mr. Rusher.
Mr. Rushford, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine, and then we're gonna close this part out.
So you may go ahead and unmute yourself. You're still muted.
You would think after all this time in COVID. The position of Wilkins Township, there are several issues with this. First of all, as other parties have indicated, and Mr. Gallagher himself, we received this motion yesterday. And so we have prepared a response to it that we would like to submit to the board for its consideration. But in the words of somebody smarter than I, this is sort of like unscrambling an omelet, because at this point, we feel we've participated so far. And if the applicant really truly had a problem, that should have been brought out earlier than now, because, quite some time has passed, even since the last hearing. And we're getting notice of this literally, the clock strikes 12. So from that standpoint, I agree with some of the residents that we feel we've been, somewhat put at jeopardy because we prepared for this hearing and then we received this motion. I also think there's some confusion with the Armistead case because that really dealt with standing on appeal, not standing or a party in interest in a zoning board hearing like tonight. So I think that's a different issue, maybe for a different night, but that's basically our position. We would like the board to afford us the opportunity to respond, and we'll do so as the board's wishes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rushford.
Can I just respond to that real quickly, please?
Yes,
We placed our objection at the very outset because Wilkins Township didn't meet the standing standard. So I don't know how you can say that was untimely. Mr. Rushford, you called me and asked for a continuance, which we granted, and I told you at that time we were going to be objecting to your standing because you had none. So I don't, to say that you're.
And I agree, Mr. Gallagher, I agree.
one at a time, please. You can finish, Mr. Gallagher, and then Mr. Rushford, you can respond.
So, yes, please tell me what, just state your basis for standing.
Well, 2 words, Maple Road. It's a township road, clearly within close proximity to the sign, and is going to be affected by the sign. It's owned by the township.
Owning
It's
a
a
right,
sticky fact.
yeah, owning a right of way is not the same as owning property, meeting the
We can
person.
argue that, but that's our position.
Okay, thank you.
So like, can I ask, are you ready to proceed with your case then? I take it.
Your Honor, may I respond to that?
Okay, I think we're done with the standing discussion. Okay, we're going to take a brief recess, come out, make some decisions, and then we're gonna move on with the applicant's case. How many witnesses do you have tonight, Mr. Gallagher?
Just one, just one.
Okay,
Your Honor, just while we're here, because Ms. Bodnar isn't in the room, can I ask her to call my cell phone so we can discuss? If she were here, we would talk in the hallway.
if she's here, she heard you. I mean, that's-
Okay, thank you.
So, John. Is he still on? Or is he-
Yeah, he's still there.
Are you ready to proceed with your case?
Yes.
We're taking a recess.
Ms. Bodnar, my number is 412-607-3739.
It's all yours.
Thank you. Okay, we are back on the record. The zoning hearing board had a brief executive session to have some quasi-judicial deliberations to discuss standing decisions. Is there a motion to deny the standing of Mayor Calabrese on behalf of Penn Hills? All in favor? Is there a motion to deny standing of Ms. Wardner?
Yes. I second.
All in favor? Is there a motion to deny standing of Mr. Greg Swachek?
Yes. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to take under advisement the standing of Ms. Turner?
Yes. Second.
Okay, all in favor? And is there a motion to deny standing of the Borough of Churchill Tree Committee?
Yes. I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, and as to the remainder of people raised by the applicant's motion for reconsideration, is there a motion to deny the remainder of the motion for reconsideration?
Yes. That's
Okay,
a second.
all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay,
Gretchen,
yes.
I have a question that I've received a number of times. Obviously, as you have said earlier, public will be able to make comment.
Yes,
To the degree they live in the municipality and or that issue, but then the issue of time,
yes,
not that you have the answer now, but the zoning hearing board could decide and then give me feedback so people will know, do they have 3 minutes, which is what council does as a regular practice?
Yep.
Or would they like to go longer? And then to the degree, people who are not in the community could be public. Those issues could be dealt with at some time. I would appreciate it.
sure, we can address them in the future. I could say as we stand today, my understanding is it's a 3-minute as resident taxpayer, the traditional, but the board can certainly think about that for the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, can I ask who's left, who still has standing?
Yes,
Your name?
Kathleen Rayborn.
so it is the Shade Tree Commission of Penn Hills. It is John Andrea. It is Wilkins Township. Ms. Turnock, who's still under advisement. I think that covers everybody.
I'm sorry, the Shade Tree Commission of Penn Hill.
Penn Hills,
Yeah.
correct. They were doing that project near the site.
The planted trees right adjacent to the site.
Okay,
So, Ms. Turnock though, or not Ms. Turnock, Ms. Rayborn, she lives, I believe, 2.7 miles away.
right, so let's take a minute to clarify that. So, and I think we did last time on the record, but it is the Shade Tree Commission of Penn Hills who has standing through Ms. Rayborn, who's going to speak on their behalf as the president. But it's actually the commission itself, not her individual. And I believe they have direct and derivative standing because there was Mr. Davidson who had the derivative standing, but I think they have direct standing as well in light of the work that they were doing in the area.
Okay, thank you. I mean, we have obviously object to that, but it's noted on the record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll turn it over to the applicant to proceed with its case.
Okay, Mr. Hato.
Can you please identify yourself for the record?
What are you doing this morning?
Oh, yes.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Joshua Haydo, Haydo, traffic engineer with David E. Worcester and Associates.
Okay, and what is your traffic engineer? That's your profession?
Correct.
Okay, and what is your educational background?
I have a Bachelor of Science from Virginia Tech
Okay,
in civil engineering.
sorry about that. I just handed you a document, which I believe is 14. Do you identify what this is?
That is my CD.
Okay, and did you prepare that?
I did, yes.
Does it accurately describe your educational background and work experience?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Do you have any certifications or registrations?
I'm a licensed professional engineer in 13 states. And I am professional traffic operations engineer is a separate designation within civil engineering specific to traffic.
Okay. And how long so that's referred to as a PTOE?
Correct.
Okay. How long have you been a traffic engineer?
I've been practicing traffic engineering for nearly 11 years.
Okay. Have you ever testified before?
I have, yes.
As an expert witness?
Yes,
In the field of traffic?
Yes.
Engineering, traffic safety?
correct.
How many times have you testified as an expert witness?
4, 5, 6 times?
Okay. Have you ever been rejected as an expert witness?
No.
At this time, I'd like to offer Mr. Haydo as an expert in traffic engineering and traffic safety.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the folks who have standing have any questions or wish to challenge Mr. Haydo as an expert? Okay, hearing no objections, does my board have any questions? Okay.
Mr. Haydo, are you familiar with the proposed billboard?
Yes, yes, I am.
And I don't know, have you reviewed all the exhibits?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and you're familiar with the application?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Have you ever visited the site before this hearing?
Yes, I have.
And if you drove on Maple Lane?
I have, yes.
Can you explain the extent of the other properties that are serviced from Maple Lane in Wilkins Township?
Sure. I believe that further up the hill, I'm gonna say that's east, but up the hill, there is a hotel and 2 separate buildings, 2 additional buildings that I believe both are office.
In Maple Lane and Wilkins Township, dead ends there.
Correct.
Okay, and I believe Mr. Schwartz had testified that the billboard's not visible from that area.
I believe you're correct, yes.
Okay. Did you prepare an analysis with respect to the zoning ordinances, traffic related criteria?
I did, yes.
Okay, and I believe, here, you can take this, that exhibit 6 in the document, in the exhibit book that I just handed you.
Yes, it is.
Can you explain to the board what your evaluation is based on?
Sure. So I reviewed the zoning ordinance, specifically looking at items or criteria pertaining to traffic or traffic safety. And to prepare this evaluation, I reviewed the exhibits and other documents, plans, drawings, applications provided by the applicants, as well as visiting the site myself in person.
Okay, is the proposed billboard to be constructed within a clear sight triangle of any public street, road, driveway, or access of any kind?
It is not, no.
Okay, and what do you base this opinion on?
My field visit, going, visiting the site, looking at the graphics that were prepared, the exhibits showing exactly where the billboard is going to be relative to the road, horizontal offset, vertical offset from the ground. It's not going to obstruct sight lines for anybody in a motor vehicle, prohibiting them from seeing oncoming or turning traffic. Just the nature of where it is and its height.
Will the proposed billboard physically interfere with any official traffic signs?
No,
Any signals?
no,
Any traffic devices?
no.
Will it interfere with the driver's view of approaching, merging, or intersecting traffic?
No.
If you could take a look at exhibit 3. I believe that's one of the plans.
Yes.
Would it be able to create an access drive for this development or any other development for that matter?
I don't believe so, no.
And why is that?
One is the grade of the slope going up to the top of the hill, but because of the curve in the road, I don't believe that you could achieve sufficient sightlines for vehicles turning into and out of an access along Maple Lane.
Okay. So probably it would be difficult, if not possible, to develop this property for any other use.
In my opinion, yes, correct.
Okay. Speaking of the traffic, what is the long-term traffic associated with a billboard? Is it a big traffic generator?
Billboards, to my knowledge, don't generate any traffic. I imagine from time to time, it's necessary for someone to maybe go out and do some maintenance, but it is not a traffic generator.
So it will not be adding additional traffic to Wilkins Township?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
And again, that only dead ends in services 3 properties, correct?
Correct.
From a traffic safety point of view, do you have an opinion as to what is a better location, where it is currently proposed, or if it was set back 100 feet? Hypothetically speaking, I understand you can't get up there for all the reasons you said, but if it was up on the hill 100 feet setback.
As it pertains to traffic safety, it's paramount that a billboard is easily visible by motorists traveling past, in terms of where it is, proximity to the road that they're traveling on, the size of the sign. So any efforts to make the sign more easily visible to motorists, in my opinion, is a positive thing in terms of improving safety.
In your professional opinion as a registered traffic engineer, have you come to any conclusion on whether the proposed billboard would constitute a traffic safety hazard?
I do not, it's my opinion that it would not constitute a traffic safety hazard.
Okay. In your professional opinion as a registered traffic engineer, have you come to any conclusion on whether the proposed billboard complies with all applicable traffic related criteria in the zoning ordinance?
Yes, and in my findings, it does comply.
Have your opinions been offered to a reasonable degree of professional certainty?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. You don't have any questions?
I just wondered, is this gonna be a sign that's changing all the time? Or is it gonna be, like for this week, it's gonna say this, and for next week, it's gonna say that? But it's not gonna be changing every, like,
I think it testified previously, it's a series of static messages. There's no motion or video.
okay.
I have a question. Who prepared exhibit 3?
Is it on? HF Lens is the company, the seal on it is Brian Clement.
Okay, so
Special engineer.
earlier I heard testimony that the sign face was not going to be facing north. But if you look at this exhibit, it appears as though the sign is facing north-northwest,
I apologize, maybe I believe I'm
almost directly at the house that was in question earlier.
So,
Oh, I understand.
If I may, I know that if you identify yourself for the record,
Andrew Schwartz, environmental planning and design.
need to clarify.
I'm sorry, we can't hear back here.
Can the site plan go on the screen? I think that will answer.
Would exhibit 3,
I don't.
or do you want me to go? to the
Exhibit 3,
exhibits you have?
exhibit 3.
Exhibit 3.
Can I say that?
Go ahead.
I just need to click through, sorry.
I may have confused my direction, but. So
If you can move that up the screen just a little bit, we can't see the bottom.
One moment, please. Just need to minimize this, be able to get to the one.
We could just scroll down to the bar on the right.
Yeah, the problem is I'm looking at it for Zoom as you are. So
Oh, I
just need to like,
So we'll just go right above the little dialogue box where the closed caption is the sign structure itself. Yeah, yes, you're correct. Confuse my direction. So north, I think Alex, just to make sure you go far in the, I believe it's on the right corner is where the north arrow is.
The bottom left corner.
Lower left corner.
here, yeah,
Below your cursor,
yeah.
Josh.
So what I was trying to say is from the addresses, from the location of where those addresses are, because of the terrain, they can't see those faces.
Yeah, I think the comment was that you couldn't see any light because no light would be pointing to
They're below.
to the north.
They're topographically, they're below. So again, that triangle, kind of the so to speak, is almost 40 feet below where the ridge top is, where the home address is. If you look at kind of the terrain,
Yeah, I
they're
was,
below, so there's no way that there will be any light visibility because they'd be on the floor as opposed to.
I understand.
Yeah.
I was just
I screwed the north and the,
related to the light.
yeah,
Just wanted clarification on that.
yeah, sorry. Screwed up my direction.
Board have any more questions?
Your Honor, for the record, the Shade Tree Commission has asked me to represent them in my capacity as an attorney. And I would ask that that testimony be stricken. This was the individual who was called as a witness to testify as to his expertise. I don't believe that that gentleman has come forward to testify as an expert as to whether or not the light, his testimony wasn't for the light. So I would ask that his testimony be stricken.
Okay, let's just do a timeout first. What's that? Yeah, you're gonna deny that, but just to clarify, one, we're in a zoning hearing. Okay, two, our board member asked Mr. Schwartz to answer a question about his previous testimony, and he got the answer, so that's fine. You are correct, we're in the direct and cross of this expert, but my board had a question for clarification from what Mr. Schwartz previously testified to, so we got that answer. So there's nothing to strike. But we are up for questioning, Mr. Baylor. Yeah. Hato, I'm sorry, Mr. Hato. And back to my board. Does my board have any other questions for Mr. Hato?
No, I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Hato was aware that the sign was facing north when we were discussing item number 3, exhibit 3.
Okay, so we'll move on and we'll go down the line. We'll start with the Shade Tree Commission. Do you have any questions for Mr. Hato?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to enter my appearance, Pauline Calabrese, on behalf of the Shade Tree Commission. I'm sorry, where would you like me to stand, Your Honor?
If you could, yeah, we could have you so we could catch you on the camera, make it a little easier for the folks on Zoom. Alex, is this good if they're here and here?
You want to slide over towards where Mr. Gallagher is, that would be great.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening, Mr. Is it Hato?
Yes,
Thank you so much. So in your capacity as this expert, you've reviewed all of the documents in this matter, have you not?
I have, yes.
And you've reviewed the application as well, have you not?
Yes,
And you've actually visited the site, have you not?
I have, yes.
So the area that is owned by, I'm sorry, it's actually leased by the petitioner. How much land is that?
I don't know.
You're aware, aren't you, that that site, that area that's owned and being leased, it also faces the, it could face the entrance to Penn Hills. Are you aware of that?
Could you restate the question?
So when you visited the site, you saw that there's the Parkway East, correct?
Yes,
And there's an entrance ramp from the Parkway East coming into Penn Hills, correct?
correct.
So that there's sufficient land there, is there not? That if they were to move the billboard back, it would face the Parkway East at the entrance ramp, correct?
I do not know. I was there to identify where the sign was going to be placed and evaluate it at that location.
And I think,
Knowing the size of the site is not within purview of what I was asked to do.
okay, so you testified that it would be a positive thing for the petitioner to have that billboard in that area, correct?
My,
Objection, I don't believe that was his testimony at all.
Well, I'm asking him if that's what his testimony was.
no, my testimony.
Is there an
is-
objection?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, we're sustaining that one. Go ahead.
My testimony is that from a traffic safety perspective, globally, placing a sign where it is more visible, easier to be seen by motorists is a positive thing. And I believe that's the basis for them putting it where they're putting it. So in that way, if it's going to make the billboard more visible without obstructions, then in my opinion, it's positive for traveling safety.
So you're aware that they're asking for an 80-foot variance, correct?
I am, yes.
So if it were 80 feet back, that wouldn't cause a traffic problem, would it?
I wasn't asked to look at it at that location. I was simply asked to look at it where it's currently proposed.
Okay, so you've actually visited the site and you've read all the documents, correct?
Correct.
Objection, I asked and answered, this is the third time.
So you've
I think
actually,
she's just setting up the next question.
right. So you've read the petition in its entirety, correct?
I have.
So you're aware that it's a faulty petition, are you not? In the sense that it states that there's a gas station there. There's no gas station there, is there?
I don't know. In my, again, I reviewed these documents, but I have a very specific role in this project. And I'm focusing on the things that I was asked to look at. So I'll be totally honest, my focus is on the things pertaining to traffic and traffic safety.
No,
I'm not aware that it is whatever you said, a faulty application.
so in the application, if you read it, it states that there's a gas station near that site. Do you recall that?
I don't recall that specifically now.
If you were to look at that application and see that there's actually a garden there, and that there will be pedestrians the testimony earlier is that there will be sidewalks there. Would that change your opinion as to safety for pedestrians and travelers?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Wilkins Township. Do you have any questions for Mr. Hayden?
Mr. Hayda, I just have a couple of questions. You were asked to visit the site. Did you visited the site once, I take it?
Yes,
And was that during rush hour or any particular time?
I don't recall the time of day. It was in the morning, probably the tail end of rush hour.
Okay. Now you were asked by Mr. Gallagher about various, about the land use. In particular, I believe the use of this property for a billboard. You recall that testimony?
yes,
And you would agree with me, you are not a land use expert, correct?
I am not a land use expert. No, I'm not, but I deal with it day-to-day in my role as a traffic engineer.
But you were asked to look at this from a traffic engineer perspective, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you look at this, or were you aware of this property in the nighttime and what it would look like then?
I didn't visit the site at night. No, I did not, but
Okay,
I drive past the site regularly just in day-to-day activities, so I'm familiar with it under day and nighttime conditions.
that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rushford. Mr. DeAndrea, are you here and do you have any questions?
Here. He's here. He'll speak in a minute.
Everybody's able to see me, hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just a couple questions I have. My questions are mostly about the road, the stability of the road, the width of the road. Right now, there's 3 properties on top of the hill. So the hotel's there, gets daily deliveries, tractor trailers, a lot of truck traffic spending the night there. Our buildings get deliveries. We have some service type of tenants. So they're getting deliveries daily with tractor trailers. So my concern mostly is with the width of the road. Can 2 tractor trailers safely pass side by side in that vicinity of around that bend where that billboard's going to be placed, being so close to the road? If we are looking at a school as a tenant in the one building, we're doing our processes now with them. So if school buses will be going up that road, that's only access to that building is through Maple Lane. So what happens if tractor trailers are going up and down and school buses are going up and down? Can that road handle it? So the sides of the road, I don't know what the technical term is, easements, shoulder, guardrail. The guardrail is a cable guardrail from, I'm going to guess, the 60s, 70s when they built that road. So my concern are the safety aspects of it and what happens with the continuation of traffic up there.
I can answer. Yeah. The billboard, as I testified earlier, is not going to generate any additional traffic.
I understand that.
The ability of tractor trailers to pass one another sounds like it's an existing condition. We're not modifying that in any way. If a school is to go in, I would trust that the school would be obligated to do a study and analyze this condition. We did not look at the condition of the road because for this particular use of a billboard, we're not adding any additional traffic. So it was outside of my scope of study.
Yeah, my concern is not with the additional traffic. I understand that the billboard doesn't generate traffic. It's the sight lines, it's the width of the road with that billboard being there. So, can that road handle that traffic? That should be all part of exactly what you're trying to do there.
Are you asking if it's the billboard's gonna obstruct traffic?
No, I know it's not going to attract traffic. I'm talking about putting the billboard there, the pole in the ground. The billboard's 2 feet off of the side of the road. Will that obstruct? If you're driving in a tractor trailer, you're not in a car. So you're 5 feet, 6 feet in a cab driving, and you're coming down that hill. Will that obstruct them? It's a very narrow road that has no drainage, has no curbing, and a very poor guardrail. So as like right now, when I go up there daily. Okay. In the wintertime, myself and my brothers maintain it. So we plow snow. We have dump trucks with a 9-foot plow. When traffic drives by us with our snow plow and our dump truck, we have to stop, right? Because the road's too narrow. So my point is, so with that billboard being so close to the road, how will that affect it? That's my question.
The placement
You
of
know.
the billboard is not going to pinch that road or make that road any narrower than it is today. So in my opinion, there's no impact on, the billboard has no impact on the ability for vehicles to pass one another on that narrow road.
Being 2 feet from the road?
Correct. It's still,
May I interject? So it's my understanding that the billboard will be 2 feet behind the right of way. So it will not be 2 feet off of the road. It'll be 2 feet behind the right of way. So it'll be several feet off of the road.
correct.
Okay, yeah, it's difficult to interpret that on that plan, exactly how far it'll be, and that's the biggest concern because there's a lot of traffic on that road, and there's going to be the traffic's going to increase substantially, and you worry about everybody's safety on that, and we want to make sure that it's not going to be a hazard to anybody. Thank you. You have any questions for me? Or are you good?
We're good, Mr. Daly.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Comfort Inn, actually, I recalled, separately has standing. Is anyone here from Comfort Inn who would like to ask any questions of Mr. Hato?
I'm Debbie Tambora, represent Mohammed Salim and Mohammed Tanvir from the Comfort Inn. I think that all of the questions have been answered, that the fact that I'm not an engineer or a traffic study person makes it a little bit difficult sometimes to capture how things are going. I do have safety concerns. Mr. DeAndrea spoke, I think, to what my biggest concerns are. And I think I mentioned, I travel that road anywhere from 4 to 8 times a day, up and back. And 2 cars, it's difficult for 2 cars to pass, let alone 2 tractor trailers, 2 buses, whatever 2 you're going to have coming and going up and down. It's tight. It is very tight. And if that's coming at that wide bend where the entrance to this is supposed to be, that wide bend is very dangerous. It's blind.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mr.
No,
Hato?
I don't. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher, any interact?
Further questions?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hato.
We'll reserve the right to rebuttal and recall our witnesses, but that completes our case in chief.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to move on to the cases of the individuals and entities with standing. So this is separate and distinct from public comment, which will come, and we'll have a chance to do that. This would be, if you have standing, if you're one of those 4 entities, and you'd like to put in your case, this would be the time to do it. I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer to go first, or if not, I could just call someone. It looks like Penn Hill Shade Tree.
Hi, I'm Kathy Rayborn. I live at 5562 Zigger Avenue in Penn Hills. I'm president of the Penn Hill Shade Tree Commission, which was established by municipal ordinance in 2017. I'm a landscape designer and I've lived in Penn Hills for 35 years. I've asked that 5 before and after photographs be shown to illustrate our beautification efforts in the area close to the proposed billboard.
You have copies?
I do have copies for the board, but it's attached to what I'm reading right now.
Do we have any other copies for the applicant? Or did you give us copies?
I sent it to Alex.
Oh, okay.
I know part of the ones I forwarded earlier.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything printed.
Yeah, just if you give me a minute, I can get those up.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we'd like to have a paper copy.
Sure, I'll forward that to you now, and then while I get those up, and let me just see what I can get here.
Okay, so can I continue?
Yeah, just
So-
let me know which one you want.
Just before you start, Alex, did you forward a copy to Sean Gallagher?
Just a minute. Sean, I did send them over, so you can give it a minute or two. I'll get back to the screen here.
Mr. Graziano, can you change the order of those photographs for me? And
Yeah, so do you want to start with the tree planting one first or the
No,
sign?
the garden.
Okay. The garden would be-
Where people are planting the garden, would be the first. Yes, that's good, thank you. So these photographs illustrate our beautification efforts in the area that is close to the proposed billboard. So I respectfully request that the Churchill Borough Zoning Hearing Board deny the request for a zoning variance for two particular reasons. Number one, the application includes an error in describing land use bordering their property, which I will explain. And number two, the electronic billboard would counteract the beautification and economic revitalization efforts of the Penn Hills Shade Tree Commission. To my first reason, I would highlight an error in the zoning variance application submitted by Rhode Island Maple Devco LLC for a double-sided electronic billboard. Under variances .4, it states that the property is bordered on the east by a hotel complex in Wilkins Township and to the north by an office building complex and a gas station located in Penn Hills Township. This gas station has not occupied this site for many years, and yet the applicant states that he visited this site many times within the last year. The former gas station is now what you see in this picture, and it's referred to as the Penn Hills Entrance Garden. This garden even shows up on Google Maps. The garden was planted this spring, and it was a joint effort between the Penn Hills Shade Tree Commission and the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy as part of the ongoing beautification of Rodi Road. Many Penn Hills residents volunteered for 2 separate days to plant this garden, which includes annuals, native perennials, shrubs, trees, and a Western Pennsylvania Conservancy sign that says, "Welcome to Penn Hills." Alex, you can continue with the photographs if you'd like.
Which one do you want? The one?
The after, no, not the trees.
I'm not sure.
That,
That's the one planting. That's
yeah,
one
the
there.
one in the
This one
middle.
here.
Yeah, that's the after of what it looks like now. And then our sign, which I just mentioned. So that's our new sign. This is the main entry point into our community. Actually, please go back to the finished garden if you don't mind. Thank you. This is the main entry point into our community, and its visual impact gives visitors their first impression upon entering Penn Hills. This garden is only about 300 feet from the proposed billboard. The second reason the zoning hearing should deny this variance request is that this electronic billboard will counteract the Penn Hill Shade Tree Commission's ongoing beautification and economic revitalization efforts on Rodi Road. In addition to planting the Penn Hills entrance garden, we've also been partnering with Tree Vitalize, planting street trees. You want to change that to the planting day.
There you go.
The planting.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not coming up on that screen. I'll just have to figure that out. While I'm going settings. It was one of the ones we saw earlier.
All right, well, I'll continue and hopefully you can bring that up. Last year, we planted 13 street trees along Rodi Road. And this coming Saturday, October 28th, we're planting an additional 19 trees. These new trees will only be about 300 to 600 feet from the proposed billboard. Penn Hills Council passed a resolution that states the municipality will water, prune, provide maintenance, and accept liability for all of the trees that we plant on Rodi Road. A Penn State University, and I do have the link written here, states that trees and green landscapes are among a visitor's first impression of a place. They help improve the image and reputation of neighborhoods and business districts. That's what all these efforts are all about. Conversely, studies on the impact of electronic billboards in cities across the United States have shown that electronic billboards have multiple negative financial and economic impacts. And again, I have the link to that study. In addition to our efforts, in July, U.S. Congressman Chris DeLuzio announced the award of $800,000 to improve the sidewalks and accessibility on Rodi Road. Penn Hills is contributing an additional $200,000 to bring the total investment up to $1 million. Congressman DeLuzio stated at the press conference that the new trees and the new garden are the first step to improving Rodi Road. Penn Hills residents and the Penn Hills Shade Tree Commission showed up here tonight wearing green shirts as a way to show that they want the entrance to Penn Hills to be an inviting green space and not to be an electronic billboard. I'd also like to read another document, and this states that this is a self-imposed hardship. Exhibit A, B, C, and D. The applicant states in the application, the unnecessary hardship was not created by the applicant. The shape of the property was created by the condemnation of right-of-way, and the topography has not been altered. A, according to the Allegheny County Assessor website for parcel number 451-N-375 Maple Lane, Exhibit A, this parcel was purchased May 1st, 1992 by Crescent Ltd. for $60,000. It was then
Just stop for 1 second.
Sure.
What is Exhibit A?
That's what I was gonna say, Your Honor. I'm holding the exhibits for her. May I give you the exhibits?
We were not.
Could you give everybody a copy and then everyone can look at it? Okay, thank you.
You want all the exhibits? Well,
That would be helpful, thank you. I'll need a copy as well, eventually.
Well, there's counsel around. Can you just ask her the questions?
No, I think so. She's almost done.
Well, we're passing out exhibits here. Can we just state for the record that the images you showed, the pictures?
I don't think all of them were shown, but there were just 5, but.
Okay, let's enter them into evidence. We can call them objectors. So these are the A, B, C, D.
I would, not even, I would object on relevance. I don't know how this is relevant to anything before the board.
We'll give it a date.
Your Honor, she's testifying
Yeah.
as to the self-imposed hardship, and it shows the historical, it shows the timeline as to, this is not a surprise, when the property was leased. This is the way the property was purchased, and this shows the timeline.
Sure, yeah, we'll, if you'd like to introduce each of these, and then we'll admit them, and as my board member said, give it the way we think it deserves here. Okay, so Exhibit A is,
And I'm sorry, here is my photograph. I'll attach to my.
okay, thank you.
I only have two though, so I just actually made them. for-
Yeah, give them one, thank you.
It's not something we can't do for any.
Okay, so if we could clean all of this up for the record, if we could start with Exhibit A, let's identify it. and-
Yeah, Exhibit A, this parcel was purchased May 1st, 1992 by Crescent LTD for $60,000. It was then purchased December 14, 2016 by the 2012 Irrevocable Trust for Family of August Damian and Clement Damian for $1. I will be showing that the second purchase was actually a transfer between the two entities, Crescent LTD and the Irrevocable Trust.
Okay, so Exhibit A is just a printout from the Allegheny County Property Assessment Database for the property.
Yes.
Okay. Any objection to Exhibit A?
Other than the relevance objection, which would make problem, but other than that,
Okay, so we will admit Exhibit A. Would you like to introduce Exhibit B, please?
According to the deed dated April 27, 1992, between Joan K. Goodworth, executor of the estate, and Archibald D. McDowell and the Crescent LTD, Exhibit B, Crescent LTD purchased this parcel. The second page of the deed includes the following paragraph. Accepting therefrom and therefore all that portion of land taken by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the construction and improvement of Rodi Road and Route 187, the relocation of Duff Road and Duff Run, and the north and southbound ramp C and D, both of which are limited access roads.
Okay, thank you. So Exhibit B is just the one deed, and there's the transfer tax statement of value attached to it. Are there any objections to Exhibit B?
no, I mean, all my objections A through D are the same, so. just
Okay.
run through.
All right, we'll
Okay,
admit
so-
Exhibit B.
For number C,
Yes.
according to the deed dated December 14, 2016, between Associated Investors Incorporated, Crescent DBA Crescent LTD, and 2012 Irrevocable Trust for the family of August C. Damian and Clement M. Damian, Exhibit C, the trust purchased this parcel. The last page of this document is an Exhibit A and states, this transfer is excluded from Pennsylvania transfer taxes as the trustee of the trust is a shareholder of the grantor, and all the shareholders of the grantor are the beneficiaries of the trust and are the children of the trust settler per title 6191.193. Therefore, the property owner, the 2012 Irrevocable Trust for Family of August C. Damian and Clement M. Damian, is the same as Associated Investors Incorporated, DBA Crescent Limited purchased the property in 1992, aware of the impact that the highway condemnation had on the parcel.
Okay, we'll admit Exhibit C. And then what is Exhibit D?
According to the signed lease agreement dated June 3rd, 2022, between the 2012 Irrevocable Trust for Family of August C. Damian and Clement M. Damian and Rodi Maple Devco LLC, the applicant, Rodi Maple Devco LLC, Exhibit D, agreed to the terms of the signed lease agreement. This occurred in 2022, long after the highway condemnation. If Rodi Maple Devco LLC did their due diligence, they would have known the shape and topography of the property and the impact of the highway and the exit ramps on the property, and they would not have needed to ask for any variances. Churchill Borough should not grant a variance for a hardship that the owner and applicants imposed on themselves.
Okay, so exhibit D, the sign lease agreement, we'll go ahead and admit that as well. And then the pictures that you took, and you took these pictures?
Yes.
Okay, the pictures that you took, we'll just call them collectively exhibit E. Any objections to exhibit E? Okay, and we will put those into evidence. Is there anything further that you wish to say?
If I'm allowed, I'd like to read a op-ed letter that we had printed in the Tribune Review about this billboard.
Yeah, I would object to that.
Yeah, I'd sustain that
Okay.
objection. However, stay up there, because Mr. Gallagher may have some questions for you and the board may have some questions for you as well.
I just have a couple, thank you. Are you a traffic engineer?
No, I'm not.
Okay, and did the council of Penn Hills authorize the Shade Tree Commission to,
Yes.
do you have a copy of such authorization or any documentation?
Not with me.
Okay,
It's an ordinance.
so you're basing the ordinance on your, same as the borough's Shade Tree Commission committee?
It's not-
Wait, I don't
It's
understand.
a
the
commission, or, yeah, I don't.
I'm asking what the basis for their authority was, and she replied that it was their ordinance
For authority to do what?
to enter their appearance in opposition here, to act on behalf of Penn Hills.
Well, we
I
granted.
know, I'm
the
just asking for the
understanding.
record.
We were created by an ordinance. The Shade Tree, the Penn Hill Shade Tree Commission was created by an ordinance.
And my question to you is, did the elected officials of Penn Hills authorize you, other than that ordinance, to be here tonight to?
Object, that's right. Right, so I'm gonna sustain that objection. I don't think that's relevant. We gave standing to the entity, the Penn Hills Shade Tree Commission.
Understood.
And Ms. Rayborn is here on behalf of that entity and, okay,
I have no further questions.
okay. Does the board have any questions for the entity?
I'm not.
I
do not.
I want to thank you for the privilege of being able to speak.
Thank you. Okay, Comfort Inn, is there anything that you want to present? You're still here?
No.
No, okay. Then we'll move on to Zoom. Wilkins Township. Would you like to put in any evidence in your case?
Wilkins Township at this point does not wish to submit any further evidence. We would like to submit to the board proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law and a memorandum on our stating our position with respect to this appeal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rushford. Mr. Andrea, is there anything any evidence you wish to put in on behalf of yourself? Andrea.
You may have left the room. I'm not seeing this in MP. I would see him as an attendee at this point.
Okay, well, if he pops back up, we'll give him the opportunity, but we'll just move forward for now. If we could just take a brief break, I want to chat with the board really quickly to determine how we're going to proceed for the public comment portion of this, and we'll get right back to you.
We have a real brief rebuttal.
Oh, okay.
Super short.
Then go ahead with your rebuttal.
Okay, I'd like to recall Mr. Schwartz.
Andrew Schwartz, environmental planning and design.
And it's definitely, we're at 16. Mr. Schwartz, you just heard Ms. Rayburn's case, correct?
Yes.
And I believe this is Exhibit E. And the first picture, can you explain what the first picture is in Exhibit E?
The upper picture is during the planning day. You'll see, if my direction's correct, so, sorry. It was the tree commission testimony.
Oh, yes.
Exhibit A.
Oh, yeah, they're exhibiting.
Oh, yeah,
Right here. E.
That's E. E.
Yes,
That's,
we have
that's,
Exhibit
okay, yeah, tree shade. or
Can you
shade
put it
tree.
on the screen, please?
I'm not sure.
Which image are you going to point to?
I'm gonna have
Upper one for garden.
I'm gonna have to find that.
Just give Alex a minute so everyone can see.
While we're waiting, Mr. Graziani, you testified earlier that you had prepared, you modeled and prepared renderings from certain vantage points.
Yes.
Okay, and did you also do that from the garden? That's the subject of exhibit.
Yes.
And what has been, what I'm handing to you, which has been marked as exhibit 15, is this a rendering that you prepared?
Yes.
Okay, and what does it depict?
It depicts, in my directions correct, the southbound view, so meaning the camera is in the community garden site facing southbound towards the parkway itself. And it's giving the image, again, this was taking the three-dimensional model and then insetting it within kind of the Google Earth environment with vegetation.
And looking at exhibit E, can you come to a conclusion as to whether or not you would be able to see the proposed billboard from where those people are standing?
Where the camera is in this photo, no. The billboard, you can barely see, you see the Comfort Inn sign,
Which is also referenced in exhibit 15.
which is referenced in exhibit 15, and we'll go over 15. Maple Lane turns and then makes that hard southbound kind of right, and heads straight back. It does have a little gracious bend before it gets to that hard bend. The hillside and the vegetation cut that line of sight from the community garden itself. So exhibit 15, this one that was just handed out, shows that. Again, it's just trying to take that three-dimensional model and insert it. This vantage point is a little closer to the curb line, so it's a little bit closer to Rhode Island Road itself from what was on the planning day photo that's on the screen right now, which actually would show even more visibility because I'm a little bit further to the west. So I'm looking south.
May we see that, please?
I have no further questions.
Thank you. I'll be quick, Your Honor. So exhibit 15, the Comfort Inn sign is blurred, is it not?
That's as good as I could get from Google Earth.
But you can't see beyond the Comfort Inn sign that there's a merge point in this exhibit 15, correct?
Merge point in what?
If you look behind here, you can't see what's behind the Comfort Inn sign, correct?
Correct, you can't see.
Cannot, in exhibit 15, you cannot see
Correct,
it.
this is Maple Lane.
Right. But where the
Billboard is back here.
okay, so, but this right here, we have a merge point. You're aware of that, aren't you?
Yeah, right here.
No, actually, it's further back as well.
You're talking coming off of the ramp. Coming off the ramp of the parkway, yes, there's a merge in it,
Right.
yes.
And
Not sure what the road.
Mr. Schwartz, can you keep your voice up? It's
Sorry.
the extent you can. It's
Allergy
hard to hear
season,
you.
yes.
this exhibit 15 does not show that merge point, does it not?
It's because the Comfort Inn sign is there.
Right.
I can't do anything about that.
I understand, sir. But you can't tell from exhibit 15 whether or not traffic would be obstructed, can you?
Traffic would be obstructed from what
Any angle.
to what? The billboard or the Comfort Inn sign?
I'm asking you, sir, if you take a look at Exhibit 15, you cannot see the merge sign, can you?
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you just want to state that on the record? Can you further explain?
I don't know. Alex, do you know where this is?
Can you just,
That's the exhibit.
can you just explain what exhibit number it is you're looking at?
To the tabs.
I'm in tab 5,
Tab 4, I think.
tab 4. Incorrect. Tab 4. So I believe this is a view that is looking northbound on Rhode Island Road, where you will see the exit ramp kind of merging down. And the directional sign in terms of the roadway is, again, a mast arm coming across the road is located here. I believe what the question was with the Comfort Inn sign at the community garden site, the Comfort Inn, there you go. The Comfort Inn sign, yes, obscured the traffic, the directional sign that's on Rhode Island Road. Again, the billboard where the top of the yellow diamond sign, that's Maple Lane, that green line that is kind of on an angle, that's Maple Lane. And the billboard is back to the right, yeah, to the right side.
Where the arrow is?
Red arrow is going down.
Right by its cursor.
So the red arrow in Exhibit 4 indicates the location of the sign. Okay.
Just
Did you
a
have
quick,
more questions?
just a quickly. Neither of these exhibits show, do they, where children who would walk up to Comfort Inn to swim at the pool would be, correct?
No. There's no sidewalk.
Pardon me?
There's no sidewalk.
And so if there's a school there and the children walk down, these don't show that when the school goes in, that there will be children coming to and from.
That's a future. Can only evaluate what is currently there.
But much of your evaluation was done through Google and or speculation, correct?
No speculation.
Well, in the application, it states that there's a gas station there when in fact there is no gas station.
I can't speak to that.
Well,
I
you-
didn't prepare the actual application. I can't, that's why I'm saying that. I can't speak to that.
Okay, but the photographs that you show, you're aware that there's a garden there, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that we intend to put sidewalks there, correct?
My foundation objection.
Sustained.
There was testimony earlier on about $1 million grant.
Objection is still irrelevant.
You're talking about the first day?
The first day and today, there was testimony to that effect.
I still would expect them to sustain.
So you're not aware that there's a garden there, correct?
I am aware that there's a garden there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions, Mr. Gallagher?
No, the rest.
Okay. Take a brief, little recess, and then we will come back and talk about the comment section.
So we should be good to go.
Okay. Thank you. We are back on the record. We'll do a couple of housekeeping rules before we move into public comment. The first thing we're going to do is allow each of the parties 3 minutes to do a closing. That was requested. We're happy to do that. So each party will have 3 minutes to wrap up their case and give a closing. We'll then move into public comment section. We'll follow the MPC rules that residents and taxpayers, have standing to give public comment. We're going to keep it at 3 minutes. We'll keep stopwatch going. We'll go through the room first. We'll then go to the Zoom. And if you are on Zoom and you want to speak in public comment, just raise your hand and Mr. Graziano will acknowledge you and then he'll promote you and then you will have your opportunity to speak. The next thing we want to talk about are written findings. We would like to receive findings of fact and conclusions of law from each of the parties. Is 30 days reasonable for everybody to submit written findings?
How long will it take to do the transcript?
What longer, 45?
45 would be fine.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll do 45 days from tonight for written findings to be submitted to the board. And I've asked each party on the record tonight to formally waive any time constraints under the MPC or Churchill zoning ordinance related for the time for this board to make its decision. And this board will make its decision within 45 days of after it receives the written findings.
So you want to keep the hearing open pending the receipt of the proposed findings, maybe 45 days from that. So essentially 90 days for a decision.
Correct.
I think 30 days, we can shorten, we can go to 30 days for the submission of proposed findings. That's a long time.
Well, what I'm saying is that the time period that this board would have to act would start after it receives the written findings. So it can schedule a hearing within 45 days after receiving those written findings. I just can't guarantee as we sit here today, we could probably sketch it out on the calendar.
That's fine.
What we would do is we would schedule that hearing.
I'm not worried about a hearing. I'm just the decision. I don't know, 90 days, it's 3 months from now for the decision. That was the concern.
Yeah, well, we'd have to vote publicly, so we'd have to schedule a public meeting to do the vote. We could even pick it tonight.
Wouldn't have to have a hearing.
Oh, no, it's a public.
You would have to, I would just assume the regularly scheduled meeting, wherever that follows.
Yeah, let's take a minute to look at that. Okay, so, and we can go on the record for this. Okay, so today's the 23rd.
So the CHP regularly meets on the 4th Monday of each month.
Right.
And that would be the January 22nd. That's,
So
December would be the 25th. Right?
So well, let's just start.
Let's start at the top, so 45 days.
45 days takes to December 7th to submit written findings.
Yes.
Okay, is that
Yeah, that's fun.
doable for everybody? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so then after that, Alex, when is the December zoning meeting scheduled?
Would be regularly scheduled December 25th.
Sounds perfect.
Sounds great, meet you all here then. Yeah, we'll get back on, we'll figure out the dates.
And if it falls on a holiday, what do you do?
Yeah, are we gonna,
Because the zoning hearing board meets as needed, advertises the fourth Monday, we've never kind of run into that situation.
Just did,
yeah, would you all wanna meet?
So it'd be amenable to what your time frame of convenience would be.
Like the 18th?
that's fine.
Is it, I mean, is
I
it
can do
the 18th?
Yeah.
I mean, is the
That only
18th
The
open?
18th is good, the borough council meets on the 4th and the 11th.
And they.
This is 10 days to digest, which is fine. Okay, so, that's fine. Is that fine with everybody? We'll have a public meeting to vote on the 18th.
That will be, Your Honor, that will be a Penn Hills council meeting, but you don't need us here, right?
Correct, it's just a vote.
Yeah, we
The
don't have.
hearing is closed. Are we still off the record? Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great,
okay.
thank you.
Okay, all right, let's go back on the record. Okay. The parties are going to submit findings of fact and conclusions of law by December 7th. And then this board will hold a public meeting on December 18th at 7 PM. At which time it will make its decision. Okay, so can each party please, on the record, waive the time constraints under the MPC and or the borough zoning ordinance? The time period this board would otherwise have to make a decision under. Do you waive that time period, Mr. Gallagher?
I do. I don't know that needs waived. I mean, we're all,
I just want to make sure it's clear that no one's going to come back and say we didn't decide in time.
yes,
Thank you.
record closed today, yes. What you said.
You're good with what I said. Yes, Ms. Calabrese.
Yes, Your Honor, on behalf of the Shade Tree Commission, we waive.
Okay, thank you. And,
Wilkins Township, Your Honor, waives its timelines too. Thank you.
Mr. DeAndrea, if he's here. Okay, and then, the person on behalf of the company, and I'm sorry, your name again?
Debbie,
Yes,
we win.
okay. Okay, so everybody has agreed, that is how we will proceed, post hearing tonight. So at this point, then, we will turn it over to each of the parties to do a 3-minute closing if they wish. And if you don't wish, that's okay too.
I mean, this is Sean Gallagher on behalf of the applicant. I can be real brief. We've requested a special exception and a variance. We believe that we've presented sufficient testimony and exhibits demonstrating compliance with the special exception criteria and the variance standards. As was demonstrated at the hearing, this is probably the only place in the borough where a billboard could be located. This is the only possible development for this property. There are sufficient hardships dating back to the creation, the condemnation by PennDOT. This property has never been developed, and this is the only development that would be appropriate. And for those reasons, we believe that we've met the standards.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Calabrese?
Thank you, Your Honor. We, everybody in this room, most people are from Penn Hills. And we come in here and we're coming here as neighbors. We're out here fighting like heck. And the reality is we really only have probably 2 bases. But we would like to point out to you that as Penn Hills goes, so goes Churchill, so goes Wilkins, so does this eastern corridor. We're working really, really hard to change our image and to make ourselves you know, we want people to come here. And if that billboard goes up where they want it to go, that's gonna do exactly what they want it to do. And everybody's gonna be looking at that billboard, and that's what they're supposed to do, we get it. But we want everybody to look at Penn Hills and say, welcome. We come from the Turnpike to the Parkway to Penn Hills into Pittsburgh. We want everybody to be welcomed. If you deny this variance tonight, you are not denying that billboard, you're just denying the location. They can still put it up. They're not asking for a slight variance, Your Honors. They're asking from 100 feet to 2 feet. That's a really, really large variance. So we're just saying, please put it somewhere else. In my humble opinion, if you put it closer to the Parkway, you're going to get more visibility. They're not asking us for that. But we come to you as your neighbor and we say, what's good for us will be good for Churchill and Wilkins and everybody in the Eastern Corridor. So we're asking you to deny this variance and just have them put it somewhere else. We're asking you also to consider that there are errors in this application. In the application, in the testimony, they said that they used Google Maps and so forth. Well, with all due respect, and I'm not suggesting they're intentionally not credible, but that Google Maps absolutely says that's a garden. And yet they come here and tell you it was a gas station. If we question one thing, I think you have to question everything because all of this is speculation. It says that the variance, if authorized in the application, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or distract in which the property is located, nor substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use of development of adjacent property, nor be detriment to the public welfare. That's the whole crux of our argument. If this works, everything that we've done to improve this area is for naught. We're planting trees while they're asking to tear down trees. We're trying to put in sidewalks so that people can finally walk in Penn Hills. Maybe we can get some electric cars or something. We're trying to build up our entranceway. That's our main corridor. If you let this billboard go where they want to put it, you might as well tell Penn Hills, forget about it, because we can't go any further. We need to fill every household in order to improve our area. And we have all these people here. So many people have worked so hard to make that. So we're just asking you to deny the variance. Don't deny the billboard. They can put it somewhere else. If you deny the variance, what you're saying is put it somewhere else. And with all due respect, we ask for you to please consider that. And we come here as neighbors because what happens to us happens to you as well. Thank you.
Debbie, on behalf of Comfort Inn, would you like to make a closing statement?
No, I think that Mayor Calabrese really said everything that we feel here as residents of Penn Hills. I've lived here for 40+ years and I didn't grow up here, but I lived here because my husband was from here and we raised our kids here. It has changed in such a way that I think we all know how it's changed, but it's turning. It's turning. We can feel it turning. And it's because of groups like the Shade Tree Commission who put their heart, their blood, their sweat, their tears into making something beautiful. And for us to even consider having that taken away after all that's been done is sad, is very sad. And I agree. I think that it will change the course of what happens here.
Mr. Rushford.
Yes, I'll make this brief because the hour is late and we're going to rely on our written submission. But Wilkins Township just would assert that the applicant has not met the minimum criteria for a special exception, in particular, the performance standards required by the ordinance. And we also believe that we will establish that the criteria for the variance has not been established in this record. And so we would appreciate the board's ruling in our favor. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Mr. DeAndre, I think he's left the building. If you're there, you have 3 minutes. He's gone.
As an attendee.
Okay, I think we got everybody then. Thank you all for those comments. At this point, we will turn it over to the public comment portion of the hearing. We'll start with the room first. We'll just kind of come in an orderly fashion. Residents and taxpayers of the borough, you'll have 3 minutes. We'll keep a clock, keep it even, and fair for everybody. So would ever like to stand up and start? Okay, let's. And when you come to the podium, if you could start by stating your name for the record and where you reside.
I think it's only for Churchill residents.
Residents, okay, yeah, this is again, residents and taxpayers, 3 minutes, state your name and where you live. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name's Ken Balke. I reside at 2007 Hampstead Drive for 45 years. I chair the Borough of Churchill Tree Committee since its inception. As appointed volunteers, our tree committee advises the borough in the maintenance and enhancement of our tree population, and it has established educational efforts regarding the value of trees to the community's environment and property values. The tree ordinance was enacted in 2019 to counter rapid loss of tree canopy across the borough, like many other municipalities in Allegheny County. According to Tree Pittsburgh, about 1,000 trees are removed across Allegheny County every day, despite our ongoing population decline. Loss of tree canopy can have detrimental effects on health and economic viability of the impacted community. The application of Rhode Island Maple Devco LLC requesting exceptions and variances to the borough zoning ordinance 304-21 for signs contributes to our borough tree canopy loss. Using drawings and other information that are now available on the borough website for the proposal, I visited the site and estimate that about 25 large trees are likely to be removed, with a possibility of some of them being in the Maple Lane right-of-way, which will be a violation of our tree ordinance in chapter 286 of the Borough Code. The applicant has also not shown a stormwater runoff assessment from planned removal of many large trees and associated vegetation on the steep 68-degree sloping hillside above Maple Lane. The trees being planned to remove absorb pollutants from the exhaust of numerous vehicles traveling from the Parkway exit ramp and Rhode Island Road. Each of these large trees can also absorb about 50 pounds of CO2 each year. The trees planned for removal also are home for various forms of wildlife, including birds. If the variance of the proposed billboard project is approved, no one is asking the applicant to financially support the purchase of equivalent trees to replace those that will be removed to be planted in other spaces in Churchill Borough. Failure to address these matters could give cause for Churchill Borough Council to overturn a decision by the Churchill Zoning Hearing Board to accept these proposed variances. Such approval would also set an undesirable precedent for others to seek other variances. Based on these findings, I recommend not approving the variances for this proposed project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Natalie Boydston, Boydston. I reside at 61 Garden Terrace in Churchill Borough. I'm also a member of the tree committee. Working with several partners over the last few years, we have planted more than 800 trees throughout our borough, including the Churchill Valley Greenway, owned by the Allegheny Land Trust, and Bullock's Pen Park, both of which are located across Rhode Island Road from the proposed billboard. One of our partners in enhancing and beautifying the Greenway and park is the Penn Hill Shade Tree Commission. We've worked together to remove invasive vines and plants from both sides to either save trees or to provide spaces for planting new ones. We've also shared educational materials explaining the benefits of trees. When one travels by car along the Parkway East from either the east or west directions, one sees beautiful green space, particularly because of the Churchill Valley Greenway and Bullock Pens Park. Such a view adds to the economic vitality of our boroughs and attracts people to consider living in our communities. Allowing the proposed billboard runs directly counter to the beautification efforts by both the Churchill Tree Committee and the Penn Hills Shade Tree Commission. To this end, we ask that the proposed variance by Rhode Island Maple Devco LLC to the borough zoning ordinance 304-21 for signs not to be approved. Thank you.
I had to fight my way from grasping my wife here.
Jim, you have to be a resident of Churchill.
They're still in Churchill.
Or taxpayer.
Yes.
Anybody else in the room? Okay, we'll move on to Zoom. Again, if you could raise your hand on Zoom and Mr. Graziano will promote you and identify you.
So Sandy, if you could go ahead and turn on your camera and unmute yourself, please. Let me just remove the pin here. And then
Okay, good evening. My name is Sandra Fox and I live at 38 Holland Road in Churchill. I'm commenting in response to the request for a variance for a double-sided electronic billboard to be placed closer to the road than currently allowed. Billboards have no positive value in our environment. Rather, they detract from the natural environment and especially if lighted are harmful to wildlife and humans. On the first day of the public hearing, when asked for an estimate of how many trees will be removed to erect this proposed billboard, the expert witness stated, quote, "I can't tell you," end quote. Meanwhile, Kathy Rayborn, president of the Penn Hills Shade Tree Commission, remarked, quote, "We're going to be planting trees and you'll be pulling them out," end quote. The Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development lists 5 variance criteria, all of which must be met to grant a variance. The 4th criteria states, quote, "The variance, if authorized, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located, nor substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use of development of adjacent property, nor be detrimental to the public welfare," end quote. As Penn Hills works to beautify the entrance to their township, this billboard, if erected, displays permanent flashing trash and blight that will negatively impact the character of the neighborhood by overshadowing and undermining their efforts. It will also pose a dangerous distraction to passing vehicles and as such be detrimental to the public welfare. The Environmental Rights Amendment of the Pennsylvania Constitution states, quote, "The people have a right to clean air, pure water, and to the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. Pennsylvania's public natural resources are the common property of all the people, including generations yet to come. As trustee of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all the people," end quote. The zoning board also has a responsibility to act as a trustee of the environment and uphold the Environmental Rights Amendment. In addition, the Borough of Churchill's general legislation for zoning, Chapter 304, Article 4A states, quote, "The general objective for the management of growth in Churchill Borough is to provide a pleasant, attractive, healthy, safe, and convenient environment," end quote. An objective to be pursued by 7 measures, the first of which is to, quote, "preserve and improve the natural environment," end quote. Further, in Chapter 304, Article 4B, it is stated that, quote, "The preservation and improvement of the environment shall be pursued by 1, the elimination of visual and physical blight," end quote. I ask that you follow the statutes and vote no on this application. Thank you.
Carl, you have been promoted. If you would please turn on your microphone and your camera.
Hello, my name is Julie Carey, and our home is at 67 Loxley Drive. I enjoy living in this charming borough with its beautiful tree-lined streets. I also appreciate the section of the zoning code which strictly limits the effects of exterior lights in this residential neighborhood. Electronic billboards have many negative effects, including traffic safety and light pollution affecting people and wildlife. These things have been well documented. They're extremely dangerous and inconsistent with Churchill's commitment to the well-being of their residents. The location of this particular billboard would not only negatively impact Churchill, but also our neighboring municipalities. Also, when Mr. Schwartz spoke about the sightlines, did he consider that most of the trees in this area are deciduous, so the sightlines would be different for much of the year? I request that the zoning board deny the special exception to the proposed variance.
Thank you. Oh,
The spelling,
yes.
Julie, Julie, last name Carol, Caryl.
Thank you.
Klein family, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and turn on your camera if you like. April, if that's you, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself and turn on your camera, please. We'll give April another minute. She did accept the promotion to be a panelist, and just waiting for her to do that. Meanwhile, I'll try to promote two other people who have their hands up. They refused the promotion before, but we'll give another shot. If you're not looking to be promoted, you can lower your hand. So Kathy, when you come in as a panelist, would you please turn on your camera and unmute yourself? And you may speak. Go ahead, Kathy, and unmute yourself and turn on your camera.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Before my time starts, I do have a question. I was planning on speaking for longer than 3 minutes. If I'm not going to cover everything, can I submit my complete testimony and exhibit to the zoning hearing board, even though I don't get to state everything in the testimony?
Yeah. No, Kathy, I would say just try to get it all in.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry, again, I'm struggling because it was done differently during the Amazon thing, but I guess it is what it is. Okay, and Alex, if you would go ahead and before my time starts, if you would get my exhibit 4 up. Okay, and I'll start my time now. My name is Kathy Bordner. I live at 1926 Hampstead Drive. This billboard is going to be changing every 5 seconds. I think that's an important distinction to make. Churchill Code 304-21M2A states a sign structure shall contain no more than 1 billboard. Based on the definitions in the code in applicant's exhibit 3, this application is for a sign structure that contains 2 billboards. If you would look at my exhibit 4, you can clearly see the rendering with the red arrow pointing to it. This is a structure with 2 billboards on it. After listening to the recordings numerous times and transcribing statements, I realized that this is 2 billboards on this lot, which is not permitted. They are putting 1 billboard structure that will support 2 billboards. As Mr. Schwartz stated, it is a V configuration. The V configuration is not a 2-sided billboard. It is 2 billboards connected on one side. To add to the confusion, if you would look at the binder on page 9, it shows a picture in which they're illustrating the location of the billboard. It looks like it's 1 billboard. And again, if you look at page 8, of the binder, which is this, my exhibit 4, you clearly see that it is 2 billboards. Their application was full of errors and confusion. They were confused. They claimed that they didn't understand the ordinance. The ordinance is clear. Do not let them fool you into thinking that our ordinance is confusing. You simply read the definitions, read the ordinance, and it's very clear. The applicant has failed to prove the billboards will not create a safety hazard. The Rodi Road State Route 791 road safety audit completed in 2017 by the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission on page 25 states the following about the intersection of Rodi Road, Maple Lane, and exit ramps from Interstate 376. Merge areas are extremely short. Alex, thank you very much for posting that. If you look at this exhibit, you can see how many merge lanes there are at the location where this electronic billboard that changes every 5 seconds is going to be constantly changing. They presented a traffic engineer who gave a traffic assessment. That is not a traffic study. It does not prove that this distracting billboard is not going to create a safety hazard. And they have not met their burden of proof. They are required to ensure traffic study safety, and they have not done that. These billboards are going to create light pollution, which Sandy Fox covered. Once this exception is approved, we can never go back. This billboard will be up for decades and maybe longer, and we can never undo what will happen here. We've held strong not having billboards along the Parkway in Churchill, and I request that you deny this ordinance. They did not meet their burden of proof, and no variance should be granted for 1 or 2 billboards like they're planning to build. Thank you very much.
The Klein family, if you could unmute and speak, you're a panelist. If you could go ahead and unmute, I don't know if that's, I imagine it's you, April, April Klein, Rick Klein, if you want to go ahead and unmute. Turn on your camera. Sometimes it's good to check texts. Okay, having technical problems, cannot unmute, sorry. That's from April. Boy, I'm not sure what's an easy way to accommodate that.
You have something else?
She's texted me again, having issues past me. There's one person with their hand up, but they refuse to be promoted. So if you want to speak.
Yeah, why doesn't she try logging out and
Yeah, so
logging back
April,
in?
why don't you go ahead, if you can hear us, rejoin the Zoom meeting, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And then when I see you in the attendee, I'll move you up into a panelist.
There's
And then-
also an option to call in. She could just call in.
Yeah,
from Zoom
and you've
meeting.
done that before, April. If you want to call in, I'll make sure that gets unmuted as an attendee. You can take that option as well. Meanwhile, Pat, Letty, you have your hand up, which I'm assuming that means you want to be recognized to speak publicly, but you need to accept a promotion to do that. So I will go ahead and promote you one more time. And if you could do that, that'd be great. Okay, so Pat, once again, declined to be promoted. I'm just gonna go ahead and lower her hand. Sorry. Won't notice it anymore. I did text April. I'll just give her another minute
Yeah,
to
let's give
call
her a
in.
minute. Is there anybody else waiting?
There are other people who are attending the meeting, but none of them have raised their hand to be recognized.
Okay.
And they're all pros. They're used to this, so they know what to do if they want to speak.
Can you call April on your phone and just?
She's gonna get it whether she likes it or not.
This is her chance.
Everybody say hello.
Hey, April.
And she did text again to skip her.
Well, I think she's had an opportunity, just tried to call her. Unless we have anyone else
This phone's
waiting,
ringing.
unless she's calling back, is that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not me.
Okay. Is there anybody else who'd like to provide public comment?
We calling anyone?
No,
Are you still
you
on
have to be a
Churchill?
taxpayer.
Right, the public comment rules.
That's
Okay.
the end of our meeting.
Okay, so again,
I misunderstood. Do I have an opportunity as a Penn Hills resident or not?
No.
no, sorry, it was per the rules that the board laid out. Okay, so we are going to close the meeting. Again, each person who had party status can submit written findings of fact, conclusions of law by December 7th. After that time, this board will be holding a public meeting on December 18th, 7 PM. That's it.
Thank you for.
Thank you, everybody.